Okay, guys, we are live. So for those listening at home, welcome to the Dungeon Musings YouTube channel. My name is Kevin Madison, and I will be your friendly shop steward today. Because today we are carrying on with our ongoing campaign playing Paizo Publishing's outstanding Pathfinder 2nd Edition fantasy RPG. And we are playing in our custom setting of the Spires of Paridar, a setting of occult conspiracy, Coalpunk, industrial progress, and Dickensian class disparity. I think I may have muddled a lot of that introduction together, but I take it from the photo that you will understand what we're getting in for today's session. And with me today are the stars of the Spires of Paridar campaign. I'll go the order I've got you guys on the screen here. Why don't you tell us who you are and who are you playing? First up, we've got Ingolf.
Yeah, hi, I'm Ingolf. I'm playing Basil Rathbone, who is an Isoki detective and tries to find out something about some preacher who is also an arsonist, it seems.
Alleged.
Yeah.
Next up is James.
So I'm James, and I'm playing Sally Dumaire, the Azar Katie Monk detective.
Nice. And last but certainly not least is Darren.
Yeah, Darren here. I'm playing Dr. Adam Ursprung, who is a level 4 inventor with his newly improved I-Core sidekick.
Nice. Then, guys, this is part 2 of our newest mystery, Fire and Brimstone. But we did have some lingering issues from the last adventure as well, too. So what happened last session, guys?
There was a lot of investigating last session. We looked at the... we went to the scene of the fire at the church. Did quite a bit of investigating of bodies and trying to work out what had actually taken place there. Spoke to a couple of the constables. Found a bit of information. Found probably the most interesting was the sort of goat hoof print that we found, like a fire print. It actually sort of burned into the stone, or engraved into the stone. Went to see the professor, Galbury, to get his opinion on what this creature could be. I think we named it as a Brimarak, was it?
Yeah.
Or he expected or suspected that it would be a Brimarak.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we think we could be dealing with. I think Basil was using his underground contacts to find some more information on the brother Lob.
Mm-hmm.
And we were looking at trying to get underwater in the pond from our previous investigation to look at this spire.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're going to try and track down this captain that was designing or making an underwater craft, as well as other little things that we've got ongoing.
Mm-hmm. So, Basil or Sally, do you have anything to add to them?
I think it was a good summary.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we did have the Ministry of Internal Security got involved, didn't they? They tried to sort of shut us down investigating the whole church thing, so they seem to be involved in some way as well.
Then, what do we... I think where we left off was Basil had just met with his contact in the Whisker Network. And where would you guys like to start off today, then? I think did either Sally or Adam have, or Dr. Ursprung have pending appointments with anything at the same time that Basil was meeting up with his contact?
I'm still waiting for the charity fundraiser thing, but I think they're going to tell me when that is, when that's been organised. So that's still on hold.
That's going to be a whole session. I want to make a mini game of effectively planning a wedding. It's going to be, roll to taste food. The Kingmaker supplement should be arriving this week for me, and I've got a whole list of recipes. So look forward to a cook-off.
I don't know if Sally, you was able to find anything more about this underwater craft, because the professor was pretty keen to have a more look at it.
Yeah. Speaking of weddings, wasn't there something Sally you wanted to tell us about?
Oh yeah, Sally was to meet with Sir Archibald Morgan. He was going to swing by. And then what did Dr. Earthsprung have anything else that he was to do?
I think so.
I think Golak had a plan to meet with someone from the church, and maybe Adam could do that instead.
Yeah, quite possibly.
Yeah, could do that.
Okay. So why don't we start with, if you guys are all, I think Dr. Earthsprung still does not have a new residence set up as of yet. One thing I was thinking about today too is we have about, let's see here, because I'm on vacation, I think, not next session, but it might be the one afterwards. So I think what I'll do during my absence is I will put together our rules for reputation, because you guys are getting to the point now where you're starting to bump up against a bunch of different organizations, and I'm going to let you guys have a little more control over that for who you want to be, currying favor with, or who you want to call in favors from, so that you have a more tangible connection. I mean, ideally, what would be also good is a map of Paridar, but we'll put that on the wish list. Maybe year 2 of this campaign. But at the very least, a social network web kind of, who are the factors like the church, the press, the Ministry of Internal Security, the Whisker Network, which I'll put in Disappearing Ink. Then, because that way there'll also be another added resource for you to draw on beyond just like the list of names that you guys have. There'll be mechanical benefits and consequences too, because with allies, there also comes enemies. So, Ms. Dumer, I think, Basil is still out meeting with that curious, tiefling Dockman who had promised some to deliver, information on Brother Loeb. Ms. Dumer, tell us what you would be doing this fine evening, kicking around the... actually, let's head on over to the Shadow Illuminations page as well. Boom. So at the Office of Shadow Illuminations, what would we find Ms. Dumer doing for her evening?
Finishing up her meal of fine Paridar sushi, otherwise known as raw fish, untouched. But otherwise, I guess you'd be thinking about getting in contact with this professor the next day, the bathyscaphe man.
Oh, okay, Captain Zalazo.
Captain Zalazo.
All right. So it is around there when you finish up your meal, and perhaps, do you think you retire to your bedchamber to spend the evening, or would you be in the study? Would you be out?
No, I think at the moment she might be in the study. Why not?
Okay.
No fire, nice and cold.
Sure. Nice.
Gets Colags out.
Well, you also have dark vision too, so the lights could very well be out as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you hear a
nice
knock
and cozy
at the door, and you can hear Sovin's voice. Mrs. Dumer, are you in there?
I am, certainly. How can I help?
There is Sir Archibald Morgan to see you.
Oh, right. Well, do see him in. I'd better get the lamp. Can you also arrange for the lamps to get put on?
He pushes the door open, and you can see he's got a burning long match, and he says, "Indeed, mistress." And he goes by and lights up the whole thing. Your perception is actually kind of garbage, so I guess you probably don't hear him muttering as he's getting the fire going to try and warm the room up a little bit for you. But once he has gone through the whole process of getting everything cleaned up, he then speaks, or he leaves, closes the door so he can do the proper introduction. You can hear him walk away to the front door. He collects Sir Archibald Morgan, and then you hear kind of a knock at the door once again, and he says, Mistress Dumer, Sir Archibald Morgan for you. And as a reminder of the gentleman that you see, that is Sir Archibald Morgan.
Sir Archibald, how are you doing?
And he bows low. He does have a big bastard sword at his side. He bows low. Miss Dumer, I'm doing quite well, thank you. And you?
Very well, very well.
Would you give us let's get some dice rolling here. Why don't you give us speaking of your best stat, why don't you give us a perception check, please?
Thank you.
Now, hold on. Do you have any feats of any class abilities that would allow you to use a different skill to judge someone's presentation?
Nope.
Nope. Okay, then go right ahead and give us a perception roll. Let's get that nat 20 going first. So that's not bad. What you can tell is, I think there's something just a little bit off about it. With that good of a roll, that's not a great roll in comparison to him and for your level, but you can tell there's something a little off about his demeanor. He's a little more reserved than what he has been in past. You may recall that in past he has been quite what would be the word for it? Enthusiastic in his demonstration of or in his demonstration of his pleasure at seeing you. He turns and nods to Sovin in that way that the upper class kind of knows how to dismiss servants, and Sovin does exactly that. Closes the door behind. Sovin says, Sir, can I? And he gestures, he says, nothing, thank you. We'll be fine. And with the door closed, he turns and says, I trust I did not I did not disturb your sleep, Miss Dumer.
No, not at all. No. I will not be retiring for a few hours yet.
It's just I saw the lights were off.
Oh, well, I find it relaxing, you know.
Oh, forgive me if, had I known, and he gestures at his, or you may recall, the one inhuman feature he has is those distinctly yellowed eyes. He says, had I known, I can see as capably in the dark as well as the day. I will not keep much of your time. You must understand that I am devoted to the Order of Saint Sylvester, and I believe in its goals. I think that we serve a necessary and a very valuable service for Paridar and for the people who occupy it. But I have come... From reading the paper, I understand that you had dealings with I think they called him the Ghoul Father.
Indeed, some.
And I understand that there was some allegation of children being afflicted by the serum or something similar.
I think this is something covered by my colleagues, but mayhap, yes.
I doubt you would know the name, Ms. Dumer, but I have a colleague named Sir Barnabas Steele. And Sir Barnabas is a member of my order and a extremely talented hunter. I have received word that Sir Barnabas has of late taken an interest in creatures in the north end of the city that have been feeding on the blood of others.
Oh. Is this what you humans call vampires?
I believe he believes it is such. The impression I got when I spoke to Ms. Carrington was that there was more to the incident involving the thefts of the Paridar Military Corps' property. The serum, I understand.
Ah, right. You got this from Miss Carrington.
She had indicated that you had shared some of the your organization had shared some of the story with her, and if you hold, I don't know you well, madam, but I trust that if this ghoul father was truly a threat, that he is said by some to be, that you would have dealt with him. I know that the war has left many unfortunates, and the proliferation of the serum among the populace has led to some very unfortunate circumstances where the young are afflicted by this. And he sort of takes a step closer and says, if there are children who, through no fault of their own, are afflicted with some condition, and as Miss Carrington has suggested, this ghoul father cares for them, if you have any connection with him or any concern for him, my brother in the Order of St. Sylvester is a very efficient hunter.
Oh, that sounds well. Thank you very much for the information. I do share your concerns somewhat. So let me pass that on.
Indeed.
Of course, I will not say where it came from, but
he smiles and his mustache kind of points up in the corners, and he says, I am happy for you to share my name with them. I would ask that you not share it outside your circle. Some say that in our order, empathy and pity for the creatures that we hunt is misplaced. Sir Barnabas has never been accused of an abundance of either of those.
He sounds a delight.
He is an effective hunter. And you see his shoulders seem to be less kind of slumped than what they were before. He says then, if there is anything else I can assist with in a discreet manner, or if you wish to share any further information with me, I will be happy to do so, to offer what assistance I can.
But do you know his immediate plans?
We, the Order of the St. Sylvester believes hunters travel best alone. It was only through happenstance that I found word that Sir Barnabas was taking interest in this. I would say the circumstances, I have not inquired in depth about it as of yet, so as not to... You and your colleagues seem better placed for discreet inquiries than one of my order. But there seems to be something unusual about the attack that precipitated Sir Barnabas's hunt.
Right.
Then I will leave you. And please, he gestures to the lights. Do not keep them on for my accord. It was a pleasure as always, Ms. Demare.
And for myself as well.
And he turns.
Take care of yourself, and
I shall.
We'll speak anon.
He leaves with a much closer to what you knew from before, the sort of jaunty, stride going out. He, when he opens the door, you can see him say, "Thank you, Sovin, I will see myself out." And Sovin comes in, he looks at you, looks at the fire, shall we maintain the hearth, madam, or...
No, you may let it go out.
No, of course, my lady. And he leaves you. So, Dr. Ersprung, where do we think, or what, if anything, do you wish to do tonight? Let me see what she's going nuts over. Oh, someone stopped and talking on the phone outside my place. How dare they? Okay.
I think in Goleg's absence, he might visit the church in the poorer sort of quarter, where he thinks that Father
The
Loeb
mission at
maybe...
Barrowhead?
Well, is the church actually in the mission? Is that what it is? Is that
where
what the mission is?
What you've heard is that Brother Loeb is operating something out of a mission, or he's operating a mission out of a place in Barrowhead, but it is most definitely not connected to the church. It is, at best, it could be described as an independent charity.
Yeah, but I think before he went and set this up, I thought there was sort of some sort of information we'd found that he'd served somewhere else in a church previous to that, or...
I see he's written down here, on the way to the mission, visit church official we think might be able to help us learn about Father Loeb. Who was that? Do you remember who that was? That may have been more of an aspirational, trying to track someone down in the church.
Yeah, maybe.
I could be mistaken. Like I could have forgotten about it, but I don't remember there being...
I don't remember a name. So I may just find the nearest church to where the mission is, just in the hope that they might know him just because of his religious sort of connections. Okay,
why don't we do this? Why don't you give us a society check? Let me just figure out what the difficulty is going to be here. This will be your, not society, diplomacy, forgive me. That'll be your gather information. Let's set the difficulty at... We'll set it at 18.
Okay.
Let's spend that hero point. You guys always time spending the need for spending a hero point with when you get another one.
Yeah,
so
let's have another go.
Okay. There you go. All right. So Dr. Ursula, don't bother adding a new one, but Ms. Dumaire and Basil, you both get another hero point. So after some asking around, you are able to speak to... You find that you are introduced to someone... Bear with me a moment here. Just need a name. Normally, I remember to get my... here. A name list up and ready for the session. Clearly asleep at the wheel today. Okay, so this would be Father Rush.
Okay.
And I think what you find is the Father Rush is here. It's really near the burned church that you're finding, where they're setting up kind of, it's still summertime, so the weather is sufficient that they can set up tents and so forth outside to try and have somewhere to give services or provide services and all the other things that the Church of the Heavenly Host offers the local community. You see many members of your community in here as well too. You may recall that Father Tilcott's church was actually in the same neighborhood as your own. So you find a lot of people in there, and I think you probably find your nurse and man, I got to print off. So this week, now that I made a list of all the names, I'm going to get that printed off this week. Cyrus. So you see them in there, and Cyrus looks over. Looks like he's still got bandages on from from the fire, and he says, "Oh, doctor."
How are your injuries? Let me take a quick look.
Sure. Go ahead and give us a medicine check. Yeah, the in spite of having to make do with what was in, Igor and your medicine bag, you did a really good job of treating it. They're healing quite nicely.
Yes, seem to be
I'm feeling fine, Doctor.
Nicely.
I don't know why Nurse Betty says I got to keep these on, but I'm feeling fine enough to go. Betty's right. He needs to keep the bandages on for another day or so.
Yeah. No, listen to Betty. She knows what she's talking about.
So she keeps telling me, "Oh, listen, Doctor." And at least at least you concern yourself. I've kept myself off the drink as well. And you can see Betty walks up and says, "Not for lack of trying, mind you." He says, "Well, I was paining quite fierce, wasn't I?" Needs something to delve a pain. And what brings you down here, Doctor?
I was looking for, I believe it's Father Rush who set up this temporary.
Oh, he's the one that's replaced Father Tilcott. That's him. You see him over there. He's a shorter guy. He's clean-shaven, shorter hair, kind of like tawny, almost like, tawny blonde, maybe turning gray a little bit. Dressed in the robes of the accoutrements of the Church of the Heavenly Host. He seems to be, commanding a small army of volunteers and such, distributing food and whatnot. He says, what? This business with the church burning down, that's got to be connected to ours, don't you think?
Well, that's what I was here to try and find out some more information. But unfortunately, I feel you might be right. I think it could be connected.
Oh, is it? And he looks around. It's not that goat, then.
Well, you obviously saw something on that night, and on investigation of the church, we did find a rather worrying hoof print.
His eyes get big. He looks over at Betty, and she sort of nods. He says, I've been dreaming about that thing. It's in my nightmares, I say. Now, I spied it for a moment, mind. But it haunts me. Doctor, it haunts me.
Is there anything more that you can tell me about it?
No. Black, furry, but totally not burned. Not at all. Stood in the flames like it was made of iron or something, but not glowing with the heat, mind. Just standing. I ain't been in no farm since I was young, so I ain't seen a goat for long, but I swear it was grinning at me.
Well, I for one believe you did see something there. Me and my colleagues are investigating it, and we will get to the bottom of it.
I see. Sees Betty? I told you. He's going to make stew of that goat. Eh?
We'll certainly try our best. You keep out of trouble until
I will. We got
we
word.
get the clinic.
I tell you, they says that idle hands and all that. We got word yet, Doctor? Will we be reopening the clinic?
It won't be long. We have a charity event coming up soon to raise funds to reopen the clinic. So
a charity event. Betty looks pretty impressed with that too. She says, a charity event, Doctor.
Yes, Lady Carrington from the newspapers has agreed to put on an event with some of her richer contacts.
Betty says, I will certainly do what I can. You may remember that she comes from a family of means as well. I will do what I can as well. I hear that Dr. Ravencroft has offered some alternate location as well.
He's also helping us to find a suitable place. the sooner the better. Obviously, there's people that need.
Oh, indeed. Well, there's certainly, if we're willing to put some work in, and Cyrus says, "Oh, I am." She says, "If we're willing to put some work in, then there certainly are a number of," and she gestures around. You can see there's a lot of boarded up homes and stuff around here too, or boarded up businesses. If you're willing to just take, put the work into an existing place, you may be able to find a clinic much faster than you think, rather than waiting to have one built from the ground up.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what Ravencroft had in mind, whether he was going to purchase an already derelict or sort of empty building or build something.
She steps forward and says, she looks kind of bemused, and she says, Dr. Ersprung, I mean no disrespect to Dr. Ravenscroft, but having grown up around his kind, I can tell you that the scope of their understanding of what is possible is sometimes limited. When one sees the only way of achieving a goal by building something fresh and new and grand and then placing one's name on it, I'm not certain that he understands how much those in our community, and she gestures around, are used to making do with what they have. Perhaps you might assist with him understanding that, Doctor?
Yes, I think you're probably right. But I won't have anything bad said of him, of course, because he has been
his generosity helpful. I speak more only. There are, and she gestures again around. We are very familiar with the limitations that come from circumstances of those living in these circumstances, and I did not expect that you would be aware that there may be limitations in vision for those in the lofty heights as well.
You are, I'm sure, quite right. I will take that up with him, hopefully tomorrow.
Cyrus sort of nods along with you guys, not quite following your conversation, but says, "Yeah, well, I want to work again, Doctor. If we need to build something, you just let me know."
I'm sure you'll be put to work soon enough, Cyrus. Don't fear.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Doctor. Then they've got some pasties over there. If you don't mind, Doctor, I'm going to go and avail myself of some of those. I'm sorry, I'm going to make a mess of your fresh bandages. And he heads on over, and with your leave, Betty will leave as well. Mm-hmm. So, what would you like to do?
Yeah, I'd like to see if I can get a quick audience with the father there.
Can. So you, as you get closer, you're seeing a lot more of the people that you regularly see, either for, people you've seen for emergency care or for regular preventative kind of care. And you quite stand out in a crowd, obviously. And Father Rush looks up and he says something to one of the either, lay members of the church or one of the junior members of the church, and leaves and kind of walks over. And for a human, he's pretty short. He probably stands about 5'2", 5'3". So, but he most definitely is human. But by contrast, and with you, you feel sometimes like you're walking in a land of children. He certainly is not helping with that. So he walks up and says, "Forgive my impertinence, but you must be Dr. Ersprung."
Indeed. Pleased to meet you.
The pleasure is all mine, Doctor. I've heard my name is Father Rush Bowditch. And the church has asked that I step in for this parish while we are dealing with this. And I tell you, Doctor, your name has been on the lips of the members of our congregation nearly as much as what Father Tilcott's has been. So the pleasure is all mine to meet you. I understand you are a valuable member of this community, and though not I hear of this congregation, But I do hear that you also have something that, another unfortunate trait that we share, that you too were a victim. And he gestures back to the burned shell of the church.
Fortunately, that is the case. And one of the reasons I find myself here this evening, I don't know if you've spoken to my friend, and I sort of gesture at Cyrus.
Yes, an enthusiastic fellow. Eager to help.
Oh, very much so. He's turned over a new leaf, shall we say. But he saw something the night of the fire, and I think it may have been obviously connected to the fire at the church, and the name that's been mentioned.
He saw something? And he sort of pulls you aside to make sure that you're not, you guys are away from the throng. When two, like, leading, if it's a big charity kind of thing going on around you guys, he doesn't want anyone to be listening in. So he sort of pulls you subtly aside, perhaps closer to the ruins of the church. You say he saw something. He did not mention this to me.
Well, we don't want to worry people, and obviously I wouldn't like this to spread. But something you'd probably class it as unholy, a sort of creature of the night, maybe a goat-like creature standing in the fire.
His hand goes to his holy symbol. An unholy creature. And he looks over. Cyrus saw that in the church's fire.
He saw it at my clinic, but I have seen signs that maybe something similar was at the church.
And have you brought this to the attention of the constabulary?
Unfortunately, our investigations were somewhat brought to abrupt ending by the internal security.
Forgive me, by internal security. But forgive me, you've given me much to consider. It was only this morning that I was given word that we needed to, and he gestures around at everything, to get things, and we've been spending every waking hour on that. I did not... They think this is a matter for internal security. So are they handling it then? Are they handling the investigation?
Me and my colleagues are looking into it. I'm not sure that they're dealing with it as much as we would like.
Leans in. Are you working for internal security? Can you say that? You probably can't say that. Tell me nothing. If you are working for them, then I will trust that you are that you are doing what is appropriate to uncover this. An unholy threat, though. The church, does the church know this?
I don't think so. Like I said, I don't want to concern people unduly until we've fully investigated. But me and my colleagues will certainly get to the bottom of this and hopefully deal with this threat.
Is there anything that we should be aware of? Anything we should be doing?
Well, I wanted to ask you if you knew of this Brother Loeb.
Brother Loeb. I've heard the name, but he operates in Barrowhead, does he not?
That's right. He's got.
Do you think he
there.
is involved with this?
Well, Cyrus had an encounter with him the day before my clinic was burnt down. He threatened to, attack me or the clinic. His name's been mentioned a couple of times.
One of these. Is he a fallen member of the church?
Well, I didn't know if you had any history with him or knew of any rumors.
I did not. But if and why the I will. You must understand, Doctor. I wish to be helpful indeed, and he gestures that this truly is my calling, is to provide assistance to those in need. Mother Church has given me many things over the course of my lifetime, but unfortunately, there are those who advance to lofty positions within the church. The church is a very important part of the city, and it is a place where men and women and others of impressive standing can have influence over the city. I am called when we need to just to dole out food and comfort for those in need. It's said to be a small fish in any pond, but it's better to know that one is a small fish than to I can't believe the church would not know of this and would not be of interest in this. That is, we intend to have a shelter for those affected by this evening. Are there any steps we should take, Dr. Earthsprung? The constabulary has not sent anyone. They have assured us that whatever the reason for the loss is, that we need not take any extra precautions, nor was I given any instructions for extra precautions for security. I'm a little fish who is very out of my depth here, Doctor. I am not afraid to admit.
Well, yet to understand what the motives are of these fires.
If there isn't, I might have a name for you. He is... he was my instructor in the seminary, who dealing with matters of specific angelic hierarchy. A part of our studies involve those. I expect he might remember me because I may be the worst student he has ever had in that area. Alas, my mind is just not for angelic mechanics, is simply not something. But if anyone would know of true threats to the church, Father Hezekiah would most certainly have an understanding of it. He is at the... it is... the Seminary of St. Ivy. He was ancient at the time he instructed us, so he may very well have retired. If not, the seminary is where you will find him. You can feel free to share my name with him, though I doubt it would leave a good impression. And he sort of, runs his hand across his knuckles as if like long healed but not forgotten raps on the knuckles are still, fresh in his memory.
Well, it could be a useful contact, so I thank you for that. And
I hope it is of assistance. I hope he's still alive.
Certainly don't underestimate the work you're doing here. You're helping many people.
Doctor, I understand that your clinic has been affected by this, but as you can see, we are being forced to make do with what we can and to offer what services we could. I don't know what plans you have, but I do know that some of the individuals who have come here have been requesting medical aid, and there is only so much that our prayers can do for them. And in this case, like just as game mechanics, these guys are, if you remember the church, they're probably clerics. What he's probably referring to is his healing, spells. But those are fairly limited. Like the healing spells, you can think of as more the kind of thing you would use in like an emergency or a situation, or like for broken bones and really major trauma like that. Things like house colds or common colds or whatever, there's not really much that those would do in it.
Yeah.
And to purge diseases and such, like that's a much more powerful invocation. So if we offered Space Doctor, would you consider until you find yourself accommodated elsewhere, offering some medical aid for those in need?
Well, that was another matter I wanted to ask. Do you know if any of these empty properties would be available for such a temporary measure?
That I could look into. The buying and selling of property is certainly something that the church is engaged with. We have many donate the properties to the church as part of their last will and testament, and then the church tries to put them to their best accord. But again, such things are above my understanding or involvement. But I could find an answer for you, though. Would you propose to set any gesture sort of around a clinic right near where the church would be?
As good a place as any.
Healing the soul and the body. I see the logic in that, Doctor.
But that's enough. Enough of this talk. I will take up the matter with one of my colleagues tomorrow. Let's see what we can do tonight. And I sort of gesture Igor over, get my sort of bag of tricks of healing and such, and
so with Father Tokot, however modest he may be with respect to his knowledge of the church, bureaucracy and whatever else too, he's really good with volunteers, and he very quickly gets people organized to get a little line for you going, and you're going as late as you'd like to, seeing people just because they either people who have not been able to be to your clinic for a long time. And the one or two times where there are people who react poorly to you in particular, you do hear that one in particular, one irate father refers to you as the devil. That you are cursed by the devil. So and Brother Loeb's name does come up. But Father Rush very quickly puts him in his place, but not in a stern kind of way, in a very disarming, jovial kind of way, and also getting the crowd to sort of turn against this guy. Okay. So it does seem like the sentiment behind, Loeb's ire with respect to you is spreading out to some of the community right now, but there are more than like the vast majority of the people you see are all people who are happy to get either continued treatment from you or treatment for the first time. Anything else you wish to happen in this scene? Or
no, I think it's already evening, isn't it? So I'll be there to the early morning.
Sure.
Early morning, just doing as much as I can.
So I think Basil, you are probably the first one back from your meeting with that tiefling fellow, and you find Ms. Dumer, I think, is in the study. When you walk, because that seems to be the place you always go to. When you go in there, the fire is low, and you're like, oh, and you don't realize that Sally's sort of lurking in the shadows, relaxing, and unbothered by the darkness.
Yeah, me too. So we both can see in the dark. It's just for Golak that we keep the light on.
Well, maybe we can get the fire set up anyway. Shall I call for some help?
So, Miss Dumer and Basil, do you have any news to share with one another?
Yeah, I can only just say that I have made use of my contacts, and they will get me the information of who this Brother Loeb is tomorrow or so. Maybe later, but I think tomorrow I will get some information. I have found out nothing else today.
And I'll pass on the message about Sir Barnabas and the potential pogrom in the north of the city.
Yeah, that's. So
Basil,
we
why don't you give us a society check, please?
yeah we have to talk to Hannibal about this, I think.
Oh, and difficulty in this one, I think it'll be a 20. It's kind of there's a small story in the paper. Let's see if you picked it up.
Yeah, I hope so.
Am I just making you guys roll dice every half hour now? Because it's almost time to get another hero point. There you go. Holy shit. So you actually remember, and maybe you cut it out. You mentioned this, and you're like, wait a minute. And you race over to your board, and there is a cutout story about this. And the curious thing is there was an attack. I think, precisely the precipitating event that led to this, likely at least led to Sir Barnabas doing this investigation. There was a daytime attack on someone. They were passing through a heavily shrouded area. They said they heard the flapping of wings, and they found themselves suddenly, drowsy, and it was only when someone came upon the scene that they nearly died of blood loss. And someone said they saw a small creature, a small humanoid, race into the bushes and then disappear, seemingly.
So it must not be the children who did this, but maybe someone else. So we will have to have a look at this as well.
Yeah, and it's like everything else, the neck, like the whole way the attack would have been affected seems the same. With a roll that good, though, I think what they indicate, like the beliefs surrounding vampires are not, or at least the abilities of vampires are fairly well understood because of the prevalence of the vampiric serum, or the Dampier serum. But one of the things that this very yellow journalist has suspected is that whether either the vampiric serum has transformed, because Dampiers are completely safe walking around during the daylight, has it made actual vampires capable of walking around and attacking during the day, or is it that this is the inevitable final transformation for Dampiers? And that kind of hackles. You know that the especially the veterans who are victims of the vampiric serum, they're kind of outcasts among outcasts already, and this one, probably knowing your connection with Hannibal and the history that he has with some of the corpsemen, that hits a little close to home of why that's why the article stands out in your mind, is because it seems like it's just an excuse to try and cause more hard feelings and more animosity towards the corpsemen.
Yeah, but basically that is what almost happened, and we diffused this kind of situation. So, I mean, there is a chance maybe that there is someone else, but I thought that we cleaned that mess up.
Yeah, Major Fitzhume?
Yes. So, I don't know. So we could try to find out more here. Well, let's see.
So, you all get a hero point instantly as well.
Yeah. Did Sir Archibald somehow mention something about that they are investigating sightings of devils or of fires or something? No, he didn't.
No. I think they're very specialists, these people.
Yeah, but I mean, devils running around in the city causing fires, I mean, that could be in there.
That would definitely be in the Order of St. Sylvester's wheelhouse, most definitely.
So whoever does this is very quiet about it in a way. So we found out, but we were basically shut down immediately by the internal security.
Ministry of Internal Security.
Ministry of Internal Security. So I guess there is someone who supports him, but I don't see the motive. That's my problem right now. So let's hope that we get some kind of idea tomorrow. Or maybe Adam found something out. He should have been here by now, shouldn't he?
Yeah, it's curious. I think Sylvan, as he brings your meal or your drink, will tell you that he stepped out to go to the church. But he will not be, Dr. Armstrong will not be back till very early in the morning.
Oh, so he's staying at the church.
Oh, I think you guys don't know that necessarily. Like he knows that he had gone out. The fact that he set up the clinic, time might be whiling away. You may find that it's midnight or past, and so geez, he's still not here.
Do you mean we have to be concerned about our colleague, Sally?
I would potentially down the line, but I think there's focused on the particular incidents. But to your point, this serum was created by the government, wasn't it, or passed?
No, not because of the serum, but because of, someone burned down his clinic, and maybe that someone is coming back to burn him down. No.
That I do not know.
No. So maybe we should go and look for him.
Very well. Although I suspect he'll find his way here in due course. This is.
Yeah, that was what I was wondering about. So you think he will be fine, and we shouldn't worry? Okay.
So, is there anything else that Basil or Sally wish to do before you hit the sack?
No, right now I don't think, no.
Okay. So you guys turn in, and Dr. Ersprung, you arrive back home very early. And tell us how he is feeling now that he's spent some hours back among his patients.
He feels quite, after it's been a long night, he still feels quite upbeat. He feels like he's actually he's got a purpose once again. He's on quite a high. He's got quite a buzz, sort of. It's put some of those other thoughts that he's been having about the sort of bodies that have been showing up and things of created people, that he's been shown in the morgue and stuff. So he's put all that to the back of his mind, and he's thinking about, I've got to think about going to see that young boy again tomorrow and making sure that wound's properly treated. And he's just thinking about all the patients, and it's taken up most of his thoughts, and it's cheered him up quite a bit, to be honest. Mm-hmm. So he's quite upbeat.
It takes a very special kind of person to say, God, it was so nice seeing those sick kids again.
Yeah. Broken bones and such.
Yeah. So with, you make your way in. I think Basil, you're, just because you are, a fairly astute little Yasaki, you hear Dr. Ersprung, returning home quite late. But there is no mistaking his footprints or his footfalls as he's making his way to his room, unless you wish to disturb him.
I would just sniff the air, whether he smells curiously, or whether he smells a little bit strange. Let me put it this way.
Sure. Why don't you give us a stealth check?
A stealth check, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you, unknown to you, Dr. Ersprung, the door kind of creaks open, and this, about halfway down the door, this little furry head sticks out. Whiskers are kind of going around. He smells like, at first you think alcohol, which is very unlike Dr. Ersprung, and then you realize, no, it's rubbing alcohol. He smells like antiseptic.
So he has been working again. That's maybe a good sign. So
Yeah.
I would be relieved and go to bed again and
Okay.
be quite
All right.
happy.
So the three of you have undisturbed slumbers, and morning comes. Goleg is noticeably absent today, but I mean that is not unknown. He's off, no doubt, doing his own thing, and you have an opportunity to plan your day and discuss what you found. So, Dr. Ursprung, let's see. I think what's your Constitution score?
14.
Oh yeah, so you're probably. I mean, you had a late night, but whatever. Like, you know, you can get plenty of sleep tonight. We open with all of you guys together in the what do you call it? Yeah, stoking his business cards. Exactly. He's off inspecting this. What do you call it? The that insurance mystery.
Yeah.
So you are all find yourself around. You all sort of arrive around the same time at the breakfast table. Sovan has laid out, precisely what you guys wish for it. Some, lightly grilled kippers for Sally, and I don't know, granola, I guess, for Basil, and perhaps a mix of things on his plate for Dr. Ursprung. What do you guys wish to do next?
So,
I guess first off, do you want to share, Dr. Ursprung, what you learned last night?
Yes, I'm sorry if I awoke anyone last night early this morning.
I realized you are working again. That's great news.
Yeah, they've set up a temporary facility by the site of the church where the fire was, and there was many injuries and some others from my old clinic who were in need of assistance and medical assistance. So I spent a number of hours there. But I also spoke to the father there, Father Rush, who gave me another contact that may be able to help with this Brother Loeb. Trying to find out some more about it.
And who was your contact?
It was another father at the ceremony of St. Ivy.
Yes.
Father...
I didn't get the name as a player, so I just asked you to
Role playing.
Is it? What was it? It's Kia, was it? Or was it?
For which? Sorry.
Father
Hezekiah.
Ivy.
Yeah. Sure, I'll put it in chat. Come on, Madison.
Okay.
Get on the ball here. That's Father Hezekiah is the guy at the seminary of St. Ivy, and the new father here is Father Rush Bowditch.
Yeah. Okay.
Did you have any luck finding any more about the Loeb character?
No, not yet. I mean, I let me put it this way. I asked my contacts to gather information, and I hope that I will get the information today.
Maybe that would be wise to get that information before we visit the mission.
Yeah, I had another idea in while I was in my sleep and sneaking up on you in the night. Maybe I could just. I have this clockwork spy. Maybe we could get near the mission and just use it to get some insight on what Brother Loeb does in his mission,
Behind closed doors, as it were.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it looked like a fairly clever piece of machinery. I'm sure it'd do a good job.
And there's always and because Golak isn't here to have his shadow doing our work, but and Sally had some quite disturbing news about the case of the serum and the related stuff. So maybe she wants to tell you herself.
That damn serum.
Yep, that serum's no good at all.
It's It's showing up once again, is it? More victims.
Well, yeah, so it appears that there may be children affected by it. The assumption is potentially that there are vampiric children attacking. Or that is what the San Sylvester.
So there would be a flashback that anyone involved with the mystery, the untimely undeath of Major Fitzhume. You may recall the last time you saw the Ghoul Father, Clovis Potter, was under a wave of vampire children. Ms. Dumer, what you may not know is that the Ghoul Father has been kind of a like Fagin-esque character in the Streets of Paridar. Was a corpseman as well, affected by the vampiric serum, but there was another named Major Fitzhume who was a full-on vampire. And what he was doing is intentionally infecting kids with the thing, and then also converting them to proper vampires. Our heroes put him to rest, and then Potter's body disappeared. These were all kids that Potter had cared for before, and as far as you know, Clovis Potter has been dead, but it appears that there's still kids that are spotted every now and then, skulking across rooftops or whatever. And Basil has been told by, what's his name? Hannibal, that he has a reason to believe that, at the very least, the kids are still alive, but Potter may be alive as well. When he tried to leave something at Potter's grave, there was something left behind, a gift of or a small indication. So it could very well be that there is a pack of vampire children that are still out there, but as Basil pointed out, for them to be operating during the day, like in the midst of the daylight, that's just, vampires cannot do that.
Yep.
Yeah.
But, we don't know whether this was a vampire. That's the thing. And isn't someone also trying to create life in a way of stitching persons together?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Maybe it's one of those experiments? We never found out anything more about those cases, if I remember.
There was a couple of bodies in the morgue that's shown up of... sort of created bodies, unlike or similar to myself.
Yeah, somehow I think, and that's just maybe a time coincidence, that this was somehow correlated to what Brother Loeb did, but I'm not so sure anymore. It's just maybe it happens at the same time.
I think they could be unrelated, maybe.
Yeah. So I would just so my idea would be that I would try to maybe sneak somewhere and to get this clockwork spy into action, and just see whether we could get a glimpse of what happens inside the mission.
Yeah, sounds like a good idea.
Okay. What about Dr. Erspringer or Ms. Dumer? What do you guys have in mind for today? Or is that the plan? You're going to go along with Basil and try and get the clockwork spy inserted?
I'd probably go along, but keep my distance. I wouldn't want to cause any problems with the stealth sort of tactic.
I don't know. You're extremely, inconspicuous.
I am proven a stealthy fellow when he needs to be. It's all Igor's fault.
Yeah, most definitely.
Soon I'll be able to help you.
I would like to get Mr. Ravenloft. I might give him a quick visit just to see if I can convince him to put his money where his mouth is, rather than try and build a new place to take ownership of something less fancy and get it up and running quicker. So But that'd be a very quick visit.
Okay. And Ms. Demir?
I will go along. Why not?
Okay. All right. So you guys are all getting yourselves ready. And, oh, nice. Love it. I'll remind you guys as well, if you find that any feat, general feat, skill feat, class feat, if it's not making your, cutting the mustard, you can feel free to swap it out for another with retraining. Mm-hmm. The game is extremely permissive in that sense. It otherwise tries to kill you with things that'll drown you. So it gives with one hand, takes with the other. What you guys find as you're getting all ready, Sovin comes in and says, "Forgive me, masters. There's someone at the door for Dr. Ersprung. It is from the constabulary."
Curious. Yeah, well, I'll walk to the door rather than inviting him in.
Sure. So you walk over to the door, and what you see waiting there is Constable Carruthers, the same young constable, a protege of Captain Odie Withers that you've seen before. And Basil, you know him quite well. This is like, one of the kind of inspectors in training from Withers.
Yeah. Ask him in, Adam.
Yeah, once I see who it is, then I'll ask him in.
So he actually, he looks very uncomfortable. And he says, "Thank you, masters, but I am here in an official capacity, you see."
I see. You want to give something to our Master Golak?
No. I'm actually here to talk to the doctor. The doctor, would you prefer to do this in private, or you mind talking in front of your colleagues?
I have nothing to hide from my colleagues.
I think,
say what you have to say.
Kind of looks back and forth. Doctor, where were you close to dawn this morning?
I was by the site of the fire at the church, helping the father.
And you can hear
the wounded.
His the other guy, his partner, the son of a bitch, he says as much, doesn't he? He's the one that done it. And Eddie sort of waves him off. And what time did you get back to here?
Early morning, maybe 1 or 2. I'm not sure.
I won't know exactly if because I woke up.
And he looks down. Master Rathbone, you can confirm that.
Yes.
And so you're certain 1 o'clock is around when he came back?
Yeah. If that's the time, then I would be very certain about that.
You can hear the partner say, dirty rat's just covering for him. He's the one who killed him.
What is this about?
Puts him up.
Interrupt him.
Master Rathbone, you're prepared to testify to the effect that Dr. Ersprung returned at 1 o'clock.
Yes. Well, why shouldn't I?
And he looks over at the partner kind of like, as if like, you deal with him. He walks away and he looks back and says, well, I'm sad to say, Doctor, that there was, it seems like there was an effort to, someone was trying to cause damage to the, I understand you set up a clinic last night?
That's correct.
Well, it seems that someone was trying to cause damage to that clinic. It appears that they got caught and someone stomped their chest in. And from other witnesses, I understand that the victim is someone with which you had words earlier.
Who would that be?
His name is Llewellyn Patterson. The name means nothing to you.
It's not a name I recall, but I may have spoken to him.
I maybe have too many or too few L's in there. Apologies to any Welsh listeners. So you don't recall having words with someone?
I treated many people last night and not necessarily took all their names.
Would you mind accompanying us? Just to take a look.
If it will deal with this and put this issue to bed, yeah, obviously.
And you can hear the partner says, "He should be in chains." And he says, "I don't think there'll be any need for that. Doctor, you'll come along, yes?"
If it'll help to deal with this matter and close it, then she'll come along.
I think I know the name of the partner of our constable.
Oh, yes, I may have not written it down. Did I give you a name last time, or
is it?
I don't really know, but maybe he.
Oh, hold on. Yeah, you certainly would. Let me give him a name. It's got to be a real son of a bitch name here. Hold on.
Yeah, I don't think it's the same guy we met last time.
Yeah, I thought they were coming for Golak and to arrest him for interference or something.
Oh yeah.
That would explain why he isn't here.
Willard Duffy is his name.
Duffy, okay.
And apologies to anyone in our audience named Willard. I'm sure you're lovely. I don't mean to imply Willards are sons of bitches. So Constable Duffy. So with you guys piling in to your own carriage to accompany them. Oh, I guess Dr. Erskine is for sure going here. Do Ms. Dumera and Bowser, do you want to go along with him?
Yes.
Okay. Then, guys, I am mindful of the time. Why don't we take our mid-session break right now? And then we'll come back shortly after the hour, and we'll carry on with our with what happens at the scene.
Okay.
Sound good? Okay. All right, so we'll be back momentarily. right. Ooh. And a banana is up and ready to play now. Hey. Hi, Goober. Okay. I've topped up everyone's hero points as well, because you've got, everyone will have gotten another hero point at the top of the hour. All right. So, it is a relatively short carriage ride until you reach back at the church. And one of the things you can see is it's very much like how you left things, Dr. Ersprung, with the notable exception that there seems to be some constables who have sort of cordoned off an area around where your clinic was. And what you can see is that the crowd seems a little cautious as you are coming in. They seem less happy and welcoming than what you were last time, and I think you can probably see, because Cyrus and Betty were likely coming to kind of get things set up for a second day of treatment. They are sort of in the crowd as well. What Basil and Sally, what you can see is that this is, it seems that like the church has wasted very little time in setting up kind of a place to offer services and whatnot. And there's a lot of constables. This seems very similar to how you guys left the place last time. No sign of any fancy wagon this time, though. Or carriage, so no sign of the ministry, no sign of miss, I guess, of the Ministry of Internal Security. Dr. Ersprung, what do you do? Do you head over to the constables? Do you speak to Cyrus and Betty?
Well, I mean, am I under sort of loose arrest or something? Are they escorting me somewhere, or have they told me to?
They're trying to get you to come over. There, you can see that there is on the ground. There is a like a sack or something that's been, not a sack, but like a blanket that's been or tarp that's been thrown across what is once again obviously a body. But unlike last time where there was those like delicate white sheets over, this seems to be something that was at hand to toss over a body. And there are little sticky red bits that are showing through, suggesting that there's a body underneath there.
Yeah, if I'm getting the sense of sort of a bit of hostility from the crowd, then I probably won't go towards Betty and Cyrus, because I don't want them to get like drawn into it and the crowd sort of turning against me a little bit if they sort of...
Basil, would you give us a... there is something you're going to spot, but would you kind of give us a perception check, please?
Yes, I was just trying to look up what my feat did.
That's like the non-subtle suggestion to the dungeon master. Remember, I've got this.
Yeah. It's totally unsubtle, yes.
That is one great benefit of playing in Roll20s. You can be like, hey, this is on my character sheet, man. Come on. So what you can see, as you know, Dr. Earthsprung, if you're heading over in the direction, it's near where the tarp is where Constable Carruthers and Constable Duffy are standing. And Basil, you can see that there are... One of the things that is unusual about Dr. Earthsprung is while he is made of human bits, everything's a little bit larger, almost like it's swollen up and sort of stayed that way. And in particular, his boots are huge. And what you can see is that there are a couple of bloody boot prints that would be near identical in size to his, but you can see the tread on them is distinctly different, even from this distance as you're walking up. And the boot prints are around here, and they quickly, the prints are of blood. Okay, I'm telling them. The boot prints are clearly of blood, and they seem to, as they step away from the scene of or where the tarp is across the body, they grow less. So it's like whatever blood got onto the boots was near the scene of the murder, and then, you know, they stepped away. You would be able to see this well before you reach the constable, so you could say something to Dr. Earthsprung if you'd like.
Yeah, I could, and I would also say, let's maybe check your boots, because these footprints there, these bloody footprints, are maybe there to say you were the murderer, but we could easily prove that you weren't the murderer if they wouldn't match.
So you look down and you didn't notice them before, but yeah, there's a bunch of boot prints that are near there.
And probably there's something. Fashion is definitely not at the utmost of the doctor's thought process. So he won't even know what the bottom of his boots look at. So he'll sort of have a look and sort of compare the two.
Mm-hmm. So if you stop and look at the bottom of your boot, you can see Constable Duffy is like, "Hey, no tampering. Come on." And
so interesting. So what are you? Are you anxious about, Constable Duffy?
You're covering up for a murder. That's what I'm worried about. And
yeah, I see.
Constable Carruthers kind of steps and says, "No. Look, Doctor, if you could take a look, please."
Okay.
Yeah, I continue over.
So he brings you over, and then with, slow, not like the flourish, like trying to reveal stuff. He slowly reveals back the tarp, trying to keep it hidden from others. And what you can see is the white and lifeless face of, it's the man who called you out, who was calling you a devil, and who mentioned Brother Loeb. And if you ask, he's only showing you the face. You can see that there's something weird about the way the body is laying. And if you gesture or ask Constable Carruthers to move the tarp a little further back, and you can see more of the body, you may have a better sense of why it's looking that way.
I'll say, may I take a further look?
Constable Duffy's about to say something, and then maybe Basil, you make a little kind of sound, and he looks, shuts his mouth. Constable Carruthers brings it back, and what you can see, the reason it looks a little odd is because somehow someone seems to have crushed almost his entire rib cage down to being flush with, or near flush with, the pavement. Someone was strong enough to stomp him down. And you can see there, like, it's easily, Basil, having seen the other ones, you can see how the gore got on the bottom of that boot and made those prints around there is because someone has repeatedly applied this weight down onto this person's chest. So Constable Carruthers turns to you and says, "Do you recognize this man, Doctor?"
He was certainly here last night. He was in the crowd, but I didn't speak to him or treat him. He didn't seem he didn't seem to want my help.
Doctor Constable Duffy kind of comes forward and says, "We've got word otherwise. We are you. He called you a monster for what you are." And then he came back, and he was gonna, and you can hear then Father Rush comes over and says, forgive me, what is going on here, Doctor?
I believe this constable is, and I point at the Duffy guy, and is accusing me of killing this man last night or early this morning.
Accuse you? And he looks down. Oh, well, I recognize this man. He was here last night. He was threatening Dr. Ersprung. And Constable Duffy sort of nods his head and says, yeah, that's why he came back, and when he came here, he killed him, didn't he? And Father Rush steps forward and he says, he was gone before I left here. What time did you think this murder happened? And he kind of stiffens up. He says, what time did you last see him? He says, he left here shortly after 12:30, closer to 1. I was here until around 3. And he looks, well, he could have come back. And Father Rush looks at him and says, is that what happened? Did you see that? And Constable Crothers steps forward and says, no, we did not, Father. Thank you. You're certain, and you would testify, that he left at that time? And he looks and says, most assuredly. What was this man doing here? He gestures to the body. And he says, it appears that he was coming to... It appears he was coming to try and burn down what Dr. Ersprung set up. And he staggers back and he says, what? And gestures at the church.
How do you know that he was going to burn this down? Do you find anything to
gestures
to start
over
a fire?
He had a container of kerosene with him and rags. Seems pretty clear what he was intending to do. This is Constable Crothers.
This is very interesting.
No.
This is very, very interesting. So, could you, Adam? Could you just Could you just estimate how long this body is really dead?
I could certainly have a look.
You're definitely going to get a sense of it. We'll get you to make a medicine check just to see how narrow you can get that down to, and what other things you may be able to pick up. Okay, that's not bad, but I mean you're quite good at this, so I'll bet you could do. You want to try a hero point, or you live with that?
No, he's going to try. Yeah, he's going to try because it seems like he could do that.
Okay. So you're looking over. I guess first you have to get Constable Carruthers' permission in order to do this, but then he brings it back. What you would guess, Dr. Ersprung, this is like maybe 2 hours, 3 hours at the most. This is very recent. Like the blood is barely congealed. I don't think you need to guess at the cause of death. But what you can see too is most of the trauma to the corpse is all around the chest. Someone has really gone to great lengths to do that. But what appears to be if you get in and actually look, there's a massive wound to the back of his head. And it's sufficient enough that it alone would have been enough to kill him. Because of the timing of this is not a body that sat there for a long time and then was otherwise desecrated or damaged. This all likely happened around the same time. There was no lividity that set in around the body to cause the injuries to look different. But yeah, this whatever caved in the back of his head and whatever, obviously stomped in his chest is extraordinarily strong.
And does it look like it was done at this particular scene, or the body was brought here later, or?
Basil might give a little more insight in that. And actually, Sally, if you want to give us a perception to assist, you just give a DC 20 with that.
Okay.
You never know what or if you've got a suggestion for another skill that you might use to assist or to aid.
Let's.
Oh. +1 from Sally. So go ahead, Basil, give us a perception check.
Yeah, I would also say that this is now the subject of my investigation.
It sounds good. Nat 20, baby. Oh, beautiful. All right. So what
31.
Yeah, so 30. Oh, man, yeah, that's an incredible roll. So let me tell you everything you can find here. First off, there is definitely someone that came in. This is absolutely where this murder happened. You can almost, with Basil's assistance, you can see markings on the ground for where something came and struck him from behind. He seems to have fallen pretty much where you find him. Like, they caught him almost at the point where he was going to go in and burn down your clinic. It seems as if he was then smashed in as well. The curious thing, though, Basil, is that this is obviously not a great neighborhood, so there's places where, like, the cobblestones have, over the centuries, shifted and whatnot, and sometimes there are pools of dirt or grime or whatnot that go in there. And what you find in here, right nearby, and it must have been made, it's about as old as what the corpse is, there is a woman's shoe standing within 5 feet of where this happened. There must have been a woman nearby. It is definitely different from the shoes that were used to stomp in this fellow's chest. They seem to be heading back in the direction, not towards where, or actually, they would be heading in the direction of not to Barrowhead, but to a different neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, is it possible to identify whether this were some kind of normal shoes or more like lady shoes? Or
yeah,
something like that?
Definitely lady. So there's 2 sets of shoes that are here at this scene that seem to have been made at the same time. There's the big shoe prints that were used to stomp in this fellow's chest. There's the second one, but the second one is standing close enough that unless someone came and stood and looked at this body for a while and then walked away within hours of this happening, this was probably someone standing at the same time. It is definitely a woman's shoe, and it is definitely a well-made shoe. It leaves a crisp enough impression that, like, what you can think of is like a baker's tool in dough. A template down and come out fresh, just like that, as if these boots were almost freshly made.
Mm.
The others, you definitely can tell, were much more worn down. That's something similar to what Dr. Earthsprung would use. Boots that may have been appropriate for, like, maybe a half ogre or something like that, or one of the other larger ancestries that live in Paridar.
Yeah. And someone who didn't really know how physically weak our Dr. Earthsprung is.
Yeah. His frame definitely belies. I don't think he's puny, but he's definitely not, not ready to
it's more bulk than strength. But,
yeah. Not ready to win any arm wrestling contests.
Yeah. So interesting, very interesting.
So I'll give them that information with Basil's help. I'll say, you can see from the blood that this is only 2 or 3 hours since this body's been laying here, and these are the footprints. And yeah, we just do our Sherlock Holmes bit as usual, talking through.
I would just just one more question. I would say so. So how could you be so quickly here, and how could you have known so quickly about the quarrel that Adam had allegedly with this dead person?
The Constable Duffy steps here. Are you saying you're questioning why we're so good at our jobs?
No, I was just questioning why you knew about this quarrel and how you could possibly have.
Oh, because we did our jobs, didn't we? We spoke to people here. We heard about that.
To whom?
To the community. What do you think? And he gestures, and there is a pretty big crowd that's around here.
Okay, so those were here in the evening as well, so maybe... okay.
Yeah, Dr. Earthsprung can confirm that, like, it was a big scene when this guy did this. There's a lot of people here. There's a lot of people doing that. But both Father Rush, who you, I guess, Ms. Dumer and Basil, you have yet to meet, he confirms that, like, that occurred. But Father Rush was the one who stepped in to have him removed. You know, and he did not get any... He didn't have anyone with him to have, you know, medical treatment. He was here just to cause trouble, it seems.
Yeah. So, but what I find puzzling at the moment is, so when they tried to open the church in the morning, they found this dead body, but then the police only did a small line of cord around him, basically, and the rest of the church was opened. I don't really understand. So where are all these people coming from, and why they were here?
The people were here because they needed assistance.
Okay, so that's interesting. So somehow there might have been someone even in the middle of the night who saw him, maybe.
He sort of adjusts. We ain't got no one. We don't have to share our names of witnesses with you. And Constable Carruthers sort of looks at him, and then looks back and says, Master Rathbone, might you put all what you've said in writing for Captain Withers to review? A statement.
Yes. I and this is no disrespect to any of you. I wonder why this is clearly a murder investigation. Yeah, this is not about arson or something. So, isn't that an investigation that is maybe above your pay grades?
The murder, Master Rathbone, I'm sure you don't intend to insult, but if you suggest that murders are above the pay grade of the constabulary, then I think you are in giving offense without intending.
Really? I mean, I would say that just asking to understand as a player. Normally, there would be a captain investigating this kind of murder or something.
No. Constables would be sufficient. Yeah.
So then I would have said nothing.
No, like they're at the level of, they're not like, you know, beat cop as it were stuff. They're ones who would be investigating. That's why you encountered them at the arson scene initially.
I see.
Yeah, they're at the level of sort of like, they would be the equivalent of like detectives, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. So interesting. Interesting.
Or what is it? Hold on.
Okay.
What's the? I'm trying to do I watched Hot Fuzz again recently. What's the? Is it DI? Detective Inspector?
Yeah, Detective Inspector. And then you can be chief, something like that, and then superintendent and so on.
Mm-hmm. So that's where they would be. They would be at the level of doing the actual investigations. They're not just, you know, beat cops doing this stuff. The captain would be supervising that stuff or like sort of...
Okay. Yeah. Then I would just then I would have said nothing like that because it wouldn't be fitting. Okay.
Sure. Yeah, but what you aren't wrong about is the arson. And I mean, from your investigations and from Dr. Earthsprung's observations before, obviously, and in particular, Dr. Earthsprung's observations about the nature of the fire from last time, there's no fucking way that kerosene burned the church down, or that kerosene burned down your clinic. Mm-hmm. It was a much more aggressive and much more... it was much more unnatural type of fire. A bomb at the best, something supernatural perhaps.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so interesting. Yeah, we could try to find someone who saw something in the night, but maybe it's not worth it.
Father Rush, I think once you guys are released by the constables, they've got no further questions for you. If they have anything, they will follow up with you, and they would ask that Basil, you turn in your report sometime today, just so that they can bring that to Captain Withers' attention. If you guys have no other questions for the constable, then perhaps Doctor or Father Rush may have a word with you before you go.
Yeah, happy to do that.
And so as he says, Dr. Ersprung, I'm sorry that you were brought in on all of that. That was most uncalled for. I certainly did not suggest to any of the constables that this should have been... I should have stayed here. I know I should have stayed here. Or had someone stay at least.
You're not at fault. It's no one's fault. I'm not sure who's got it against me, but there's obviously someone's got something personal against me. Maybe I should keep away for today.
I think that if anything, and he gestures at the body, whoever may have had something against you, you seem to have someone willing to protect as well. He was unsuccessful in his efforts, and someone went to great lengths to... What do you take that to mean?
Well, that's the confusing part. Are they protecting what I'm trying to do, or are they trying to frame me in some way? I'm not sure.
Whatever the case may be, however inappropriate this protection may have been, it means that your clinic was not, or at least what we've set up, was not affected. I think you made a great deal of good, or you did a great deal of good last night, and I would hate to see that that come to an end for this community just because of some other unfortunate and tragic event. But I would understand if you would think that you may need to hold off until you have a proper clinic.
Well, I'm more worried about other innocent people being brought into this. Whatever this man had against me, it's still a life has been lost, and other people could get caught up in it. Maybe I need to wait until we can deal with this matter before opening the clinic once again.
Oh, I did incidentally ask, apparently, because your idea, the prospect of having both the church and the clinic grow up together, which I had asked this morning, and the church did own, and he gestures to some of these properties, but they have all been sold, they've said. And the impression I was given was that there is some, and he gestures around, plan for these. I don't know if I know myself to be a small fish, but you, sir, and he sort of gestures up, perhaps you or your friends may have more influence among those who now own these. It is unfortunately out of the church's hands.
You wouldn't happen to know who purchased them, would you? Was it the same person?
It was... No. A curious business name. Here. Larkmont. Larkmont Corporation.
They purchased all of them.
And he looks around. Those that have been sold, yes. And you can see there's like 80% at least, maybe even closer to 90 of the houses that are in this immediate vicinity, or the buildings in the immediate vicinity. They're all boarded up. They're all abandoned. At best you got squatters in them.
So maybe we weren't wrong about this housing thing in the beginning.
That's something else we can look into.
I mean,
so, but in the interim, until we can sort that out, I will leave it to your discretion, or to your decision as to whether you feel it is safe and appropriate for you to be here. But know that you would be welcome both by the church and by the community.
Well, if there's anything serious that needs my attention, I'll give him the address of where I'm staying.
And Betty and Cyrus are sort of lurking nearby, and Cyrus says, "We're happy to help in the meantime, Doctor."
That would be reassuring that I know that we've got some help here.
You can see from the state of his bandages that it seems like he may have been doing already some work to try and get the clinic up as much as it can be.
Yeah. You know where to find me, Cyrus. If there's anything of serious nature that I may be able to help with, but maybe I'll give it a day or two for things to settle down.
All right. Cyrus sort of looks at Betty and says, "We'll let you know, Doctor. We'll let you know." Father Rush turns to the others, and these, I take it, are your companions. Then I believe I've read about them in the paper. Ms. Dumer?
That's me.
Hello. Father Rush Bowditch. And Basil Rathbone, I believe.
Yes.
A pleasure to meet you as well, too. And he's only about 2 feet taller than you. Most humans are twice your height, Basil. This guy's not. He's much closer to your height.
This might be a little bit of a strange start of a conversation, dear Father, but has there been any wealthy woman, like a lady or so, having some interest or questions in the last few days since you arrived here?
Since yesterday afternoon, unfortunately, is the earliest I've been here. No, we've had. There are obviously generous donors to the church, but I've met no lady of standing. And he looks at Sally, present company excluded, of course. Then, since arriving, though the women here are lovely, he seems desperately. He's a little out of his depth in terms of navigating social niceties, it seems.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, so that's interesting. So we are just curious about what happens or what happens around here, and it's like an awful lot of crimes going on in this area, which was, I mean, it was never maybe an area where all the rich and wealthy lived, and there was always crime, but not in this dimension, I think.
It seems that this neighborhood has not had a great deal of fortune, but I hope that things will be, with the grace of the heavenly host, that things will turn soon for them.
Yeah, so we can let us just hope that things turn out for the better in the future. We will do our best to.
He puts his finger up. Let us pray.
Let us pray. Yes. That is an excellent suggestion. By any means, you. I heard you have some connection to the seminary of St. Ivy. I was told there might be someone who could help us. He
kind of blanches a bit and he says, Doctor, did you? No, of course you haven't had a chance. Yeah. Yes, I was mentioning, Dr. Ersprung had been asking yesterday about someone who might, something about what was it, brother, what was it again? Bob? Someone...
Brother Loeb, I think he's called.
That's the name, yes.
Yeah,
and he had been asking about infernal forces, something about which I know precious little. I had suggested that my former master, the instructor at seminary on the angelic mechanics and the angelical hierarchy, Father Hezekiah, he may be of assistance in that. He was very learned in those studies.
Father, I don't want to make you afraid or something, but maybe I suppose you could just try to kind of build more kind of protection or blessing by the church around this maybe sacred grounds in order to have.
We will, to the best of our ability.
Yeah,
is there something more you know of? Something I could bring back to the church.
As far as I know, there might be a literal devil on the loose.
A devil?
Not the devil, but a devil, one of the minor devils,
I see.
And maybe that is the reason why he tries to...
He turns almost as if shocked and looks over at the bodies. Do you think that there was a connection to that?
It is not impossible. We can't rule this out, but many witnesses saw a literal devil walking around this neighborhood. So,
well, I will take that information in and see what my superiors approve of then. Thank you, Mr. Rathbone.
Thank you.
And there's much I need to attend to. If there is anything else I can assist with, you can find me here, and if I am not here, you can find me at the... and he gives you the name of a church, basically it's like a barracks for priests, effectively. Then, thank you.
Thank you.
So, that leaves you guys alone at the scene. What do you guys wish to... Do you have anything you want to talk about, or do you have anything you wish to do?
Do you want to set up your spy at the mission? Is that the next point of...
Yeah, that is one thing, but I think that maybe we can find out who this person was, and maybe Sally, you know a lot of wealthy ladies around here. Couldn't you maybe find out if there is someone with a connection to this Larkmont Corporation?
Yeah, so I guess I can have a word with what's her name. So is it Daphne Lagrange would be the one to
Daphne may have
reach out to?
Yeah, I mean, she doesn't... I think she may be able to try and put a word in or investigate something on your behalf. She is more of a social butterfly type than, one who mixes with business. But you could put a word in her ear, and she may do some inquiries for you.
And the other person might try is Annabelle Carrington.
Yeah, Miss Carrington, if she is not investigating, she did seem to have some investigation or some knowledge of the other fires as well. So yeah, that one may have more direct information.
So I'll try both of those.
Okay. So where do you think... so that's what Sally's going to do. What about Basil or Dr. Ersprung?
Yeah, I would still try to plant my clockwork spy.
Okay. So I think
I'll just go along with Basil as a bit of muscle in the background.
Okay.
From a distance.
So why don't we do... That one will probably be pretty quick, and then we can let Sally... make her... Why don't you give us a... We'll just put this down to a stealth roll. What is your stealth bonus? Actually, and Dr. Ersprung, how do you see yourself helping Basil here? Do you think it's keeping a lookout? Do you think it's trying to create a distraction? Do you think it's...
He's definitely going to be looking at the place from a distance, and I think even his presence might pull a bit of attention just because of the size of him and Igor and that. So it might just... I'm not going in, so hopefully, it won't draw enough attention to cause a scene, but it might just draw the eyes of any lookouts or anyone that might be.
Yeah, and are you are you picturing that you're passing around out front, or are you just passing nearby?
Yeah, I'm just going to pass nearby and sort of just temporarily sort of stop and look sort of in.
Sure.
So that if someone was watching for anyone or just happened to be, they would draw attention and just that small distraction, hopefully.
Okay. So why don't you give us I think that is it might be performance, it might be intimidation.
I'll try and do it as more intimidation. It's like I'm staring down, who's in there as, someone's trying to look for me.
All right, give us an intimidation DC 20 to aid. Hero point that sucker?
Yeah, I'm going to try that again.
Okay. There you go. All right. Also, I believe we missed the 131, so you guys all get a hero point as well. Except for those of you who are at 30. Quit getting greedy, guys. Come on. Here we go. All right. Basil, what is your bonus to stealth then?
Right now it should be, depending 8 or 9, whether this is, I think this should be my investigation, so 9 maybe.
Okay. Yep. Okay. So I have made a secret roll for it, and Basil, you are able to tell us about how you sort of sneak over and how you insert it. Let me tell you what the mission is like. The mission looks like it looks like it is a converted old Union Hall. It's a fairly big building that you could have a number of people in, but it has very bare bones. It mainly is given over to the big open hall where people would be meeting. This clearly has, seen better times, and I'm trying to think of the industry. This may be maybe at one point was a matchstick makers guild, but due to automation, it's just completely, it's non-existent any longer. Like the neighborhood, it's definitely fallen on worse times, but you can see that there is just simply the word mission that has been sort of put on. It's not like as if someone just took a paintbrush and crudely wrote it out, but it's by no means a fancy looking sign. Someone took care to make sure it's up there, but there's this big sign of mission in yellow lettering, and you see people coming in and out of this place. It does seem like there are quite a few people who are making use of this. You recognize probably a lot of the people look very similar to the people you saw outside of the burned church in your neighborhood, Dr. Earthsprung, or the people you saw at your clinics for that matter. Basil, how is it that you insert? This is a one-story building, incidentally.
Yeah, so I would try to. I think this is a device you have to program in a way. So I would just program it to climb maybe under the roof or something, just outside, and to hide in a corner there maybe, and then it just records all the audio, and that's basically what it does. So,
and where are you thinking it's going to be? There's probably I'm picturing there's a kitchen in here. There's a big there's the big lecture hall. There's going to be an office or two at the back, and there would be a storage place probably in the basement.
I think I would try to get near the office as close as possible without being more suspicious. So maybe. Sure.
No, I think one of the things you've got going for you is that it's probably shitty construction. So you may just need to kind of scramble up to the roof, and through a loose tile, this thing crawls its way in through the rafters and is able to position itself in a place where it can eavesdrop on both. On the one, the place that has the most sound going on.
Yeah, and so I would program it to, I don't know, that I will fetch it again in 24 hours or so. It can operate for 24 hours, so you will have just a recording of, and come back tomorrow to fetch it.
Yeah, there are one or two people who are definitely, as you're waiting outside, Dr. Earthsprung, who do get your attention. And I think you do see a man he's not wearing the same clothes or the accoutrements of the church, but it's basically the same clothing that you saw Father Tilcott or Father Rush wear. but without the, like, you know, the collar, without the other markings, without the holy symbol, and looking very unkempt. His hair is all wild. He comes to the door and sort of stares back at you. And after you sort of clock, do you picture yourself sort of like at the window of your carriage, or are you sitting back in the shadows and sort of just looking from, you know, within so people can't see you?
Oh, no, it'll be at the window.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be, yeah.
So he locks eyes with you, and there's a, yeah, I mean, there is definitely a wild he matches your intensity of stare with his own. He's not a very big man. He probably stands about 5'7", 5'8". But what he lacks for in stature, he makes up for in intensity. He's just got this, you know, and not only in the cruelty that he, or the malice that he's glaring at you with, when he turns it onto the others and speaks with the way that you see priests speak to, you know, their flock, they seem to be responding incredibly well to him. You can hear then kind of a very quiet tack, 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 tack on the carriage, so you know that the spy is in place. You maybe hit the roof and the carriage starts going again. And then after you've made a couple of a block or two, the door opens and Basil, who's been hanging onto the side, comes back inside. Basil, as far as you can tell, no one saw you.
Yeah. So we will have a recording and we can come back tomorrow and fetch the device and see what we found out.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
What would you guys like to do next? Oh, Basil, hold on. Basil. Sally has her meeting. So who would you like to meet with first, Sally? Do you want to meet with Ms. Carrington, or do you want to meet with Ms. Lagrange?
Always Miss Carrington.
Always Ms. Carrington, okay. Wait, do you mean always Mrs. Carrington or always Ms. Lagrange?
Miss Carrington. Yep.
Miss Carrington, okay. So you once again meet her at her office, probably. Mm-hmm. So she is once again busy at at her desk. You can see there you're well known enough that you're led up to where all the writers are, and as you're approaching her desk, you can overhear her say, how many eyes are there in Isthmus? And someone's like, one, Annabelle. And she looks up, from her typing apparatus. Miss Dumer, is
Miss Carrington, delighted to see you again.
And you as well. Tell me, did Mr. Rathbone or Dr. Ersprung send you?
I sort of came of my own accord, but I had some curious things that I was wondering if you could help me with. Perhaps you could tell me something.
She holds up her hand. She says, "Let's get away from these vultures. They'll scrap at any meat that they can hope them to give them a good byline." And you can hear all of them going like, "Oh," as they're muttering. Clearly, they've Miss Carrington is a presence among her peers. She leads you outside, and she says, "I'm glad you came by. I have information for Dr. Ersprung as well, too.
Right.
I believe I have a venue for the charity event."
Oh, very nice.
Did he tell you about that?
He mentioned that, so I'll be sure to get back to him on it.
And will you be attending as well? I imagine it would be...
I will. I'm sure I will.
That would draw the more... Forgive me for describing you as an attraction, but the more attractions there are at this, the more likely we are to have deeper pockets arriving. Okay? Have you eaten? I haven't eaten.
No,
let's go. Let's go have a nice lunch.
Okay, so we cut to you guys at a sidewalk cafe, and she says, "Then tell me," looks around. "What is it that you wish to discuss? How can I help?"
I'll say I'm just curious in that there's been some strange and I'm not sure that this is your area, the commercial side, but some interesting property deals are going on.
Indeed.
And I'm afraid I've forgotten the name of the company.
Larkmont.
Larkmont. Do you know anything about this corporation?
She brings out her little notepad and kind of gestures like, is it okay to...
Absolutely.
She flashes it over, and with flourish, she starts writing down. Would you give us a... Let's see here. I think you're the one that has the... You can use society in place of diplomacy or to use gather information, or is it the reverse? Can't remember what your feat does.
It is, but I think...
Is your diplomacy better in any event?
My diplomacy is better anyway,
Yeah,
so...
There you go. Okay. So speaking of retraining skills, that feats, that may be one to reconsider.
Okay.
So give us a diploma. Wow. So she says, it's funny you mentioned that. The name rings a bell. I know that they have... They're not... there are two kinds of construction that goes on in Paridar as of late. At least interests behind them. There's the kind that wants you to know that they're building things, and there's the kind that doesn't want you to know that they're building them. This,
absolutely,
I believe, falls into the latter. I'll have to review my notes and perhaps do a bit more digging, but I know I recognize the name, but not in any famous capacity. How did you come across the name?
They seem to be buying up a lot of property downtown and buying up blocks. So I was just curious as to whether there's some relation to what had happened to Dr. Osprung's clinic, that perhaps they were trying to clear. That was their way of clearing the way for property themselves.
That is very interesting. I trust that Basil, that Mr. Rathbone has shared his what we had learned, the fires that have occurred across.
He did, but I just have this feeling.
Well, it certainly would be no. If this Larkmont is behind this, they certainly wouldn't be the first landlord to set fire to their an unprofitable venture to try and cash in on something more profitable. But these fires have occurred all across the city in a wide variety of neighborhoods. And as I understood it, there's something nefarious, something connected to this priest. Why on earth would a priest be connected with a real estate venture, and one as far-reaching and as seemingly scattershot as these fires were?
No, all good questions. Perhaps I focused too much on Dr. Osprung's issues in clinic, but somebody also seems to be trying to potentially frame him, which suggests that not only do they want to drive him out, they want to keep him driven out.
Frame him for the fires? Frame
him for murder, no less.
There's been a murder?
Murder committed, yes.
So she's a little aghast. You don't need to go to... You'd like to tell her, about it. You're certainly free to. If you don't want to repeat it, you can just tell her. We assume you tell her what you've encountered there.
The sanitized version. Just say yes. There was initially the constabulary thought it was Dr. Osprung due to certain evidence I don't need to share with you. I feel unnecessarily gory.
She looks up at you and says, Miss Dumer, there are more than enough men in this town who will happily try and excuse the grisly details from us for decorum's purpose. Please, feel free to share whatever you know.
Well, I find even as a lady not unaccustomed to violence, this was particularly messy.
Really?
But anyway, it was the murder was carried out in such a way that the obvious a suspicion would fall upon Dr. Ersprung, but that has been dismissed now. Thanks to...
So someone tried to burn down his clinic after making an obvious spectacle of themselves. Then they found themselves killed in the attempted commission of that crime. And then it was presented in such a way as to link back to Dr. Ersprung. Why? Oh. Why prevent the burning of the clinic if you're going to point the finger back at Dr. Ersprung? Curious. Very curious.
But perhaps if you can give us, if you're able to find out some more about who's behind this company. As you say, there may be no connection, and they're two separate cases, but it's normally interesting as to the names behind a company.
I will...
Real names.
Certainly, I will see what can be uncovered in this. Then, yes, I will see what I can find, and I will get word to you. And if you could, my intent to do is in the Monday edition run the, or the weekend edition run the story of Dr. Ersprung's clinic, and then the following weekend to host the charity fundraiser, subject to his and your availability, of course.
Yep. So, I will, we'll finish our lunch and all the rest of it.
Okay.
And then I will head on back to tell Dr. Ersprung the good news on his fundraiser.
Okay. So, then, I think let's say you guys are all shortly in the early afternoon. You guys are all meeting back up at the Shadow Illuminations Detective Agency, unless you've got some other place you wish to all sort of meet up, and you can compare notes. So,
yeah, I think I will tell what well, we didn't find out so much, but that this spy is planted now, and yeah, I'm curious when the Whisker Network will show up, but yeah, we'll see.
So you are when you get back, Basil, you're taking your jacket off, and that's when you notice that there is there's an envelope, a small one, in your lapel pocket that was not there when you left.
Really? Wow, I'm impressed.
Yeah, like how the fuck did you check? You do a quick search for your wallet once again, and that is still there.
Yeah, let's see what they found out. So
you pick it up, and it is a very slender. Like if you were hoping for a whole bunch of information, this envelope is about yay by yay from your perspective. So for human perspective, it'd be about like this kind of thing. And it feels like at best one or two pieces of paper are in here.
Yeah. Okay. So let's open this carefully, because there might be something in there. But
the first thing that is written in there is, and this is in handwriting, this is what is written on there. Two simple words. Well, one word and one initialism. That is on top.
Yeah.
And you turn that over, and the second thing, once again written in handwriting, different script, different pen, is this.
Okay. So there is something. Yeah.
And you can give us a society check if you'd like. And Dr. Ersprung, you can assist with that if you'd like.
Certainly try it.
So DC 20 for the aid. Nat 20. Look at that. So you get +2 to your society roll there, Basil.
So this
20.
is +3 then. So it's
Because we're on the investigation too. So 28. Yeah. All right. So you. Oh my! This is something that is quite interesting. St. Adelars is the name. It is some. You're not sure what it's for, but it is a property from the church that you know burned down 2 years ago. The reason that you've come across it is because St. Adelars had been. You were sort of, in the course of your research, trying to pull all the news articles that you had about fires around town and blah, blah, blah. This one was a fire, but because it was so far from beforehand, it was well outside the timing of it. You didn't think anything of it. You couldn't very well put every fire that occurred in the city of Paridar. Otherwise, it would just be, overwhelming. The fire brigades in Paridar, in a city largely heated by coal, are quite busy, as you can imagine. But this name does recon, and it's a property of the church because, and it's not a church itself. It is something else. It is a seminary. It might be a, nunnery or something like that.
Yep. So my question was, where did he come from? So I guess this is the answer. So we will have to find out. So I would share that with the others as well.
Okay. So Ms. Dumare, you perhaps return after Dr. Ersprung and Basil have had an opportunity to do some other work. You come in, and Dr. Ersprung, maybe you're in the basement working in the area that has been set aside for you. Basil, you are at the desk, perhaps. And I'll let you guys share information and plan for next steps.
So I think we should just try to talk to the Father Ezekiel or something, not something like that.
Hezekiah,
yeah. And then someone should try to find out about this St. Adelars.
But you said it was burnt down.
Yeah, but normally if things are burned down, then it did belong to the church, and we can imagine that maybe they somehow summoned a devil or something like that. Maybe this was where the devil initially was created, or they did some kind of exorcism or whatever. So it might be that this Father Ezekiah knows something about that. So it would be maybe
we can inquire about both things from Hezekiah. He definitely seems a good lead.
Yeah. And are there any, so I guess that Basil has some kind of collection of old newspapers or something, like an archive. And when he tries to when he knows that this happened 2 years ago, maybe he goes back and just tries to skim an article where maybe there is written that, I don't know, that priester seminar burned down or something like that. So
it is, all it refers to, it is, it's not a seminary, but it is some kind of residence from what was referred to. But curiously, there's very little else about it. It's a residence for priests.
Okay. Yeah, that might be fitting. So maybe this, So I guess this Brother Lope had another name before he became Brother Lope. I would just, and it's not, there is no evidence for this, it's just a guess, but I think he worked there before.
Did Cyrus give me a description of Brother Lope? Previously, when he went into the clinic threatening to...
I think we can, if you spend a hero point, we can just assume that you asked him retroactively, like that you would have spoken to him at some point about that. The description he gave you is precisely the man who was glaring at you from...
Yeah, so I shall pass that description on. I shall say why you were planting your device.
So then I would spend another hero point to just make a drawing like we had. Of
Yeah. I'm fine with that. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so you to make a drawing of the you mean of seeing the guy?
Yeah, so when Adam has seen him, maybe I can just like this phantom images you do when you are looking for someone with the police.
Okay, yeah. It's like a sketch artist. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Something like that.
In which case, Dr. Ersprung, would you give us a medicine check? Let me set the difficulty here. Where's my DM screen? Difficulty here, because you were at a distance, would probably be a 20.
Okay.
What you could see when he spoke to and gestured to the others, there were some very old but healed burns on his hands and around his neck.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would I have any idea what sort of age those wounds would be? I guess from a distance, that'd be.
I don't think that's quite... I mean, if you got up closer and you had a chance to examine them, they're definitely healed. So, I mean, this is decades of heals we're talking about. This is not like Cyrus's burns.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. They're also, if they're still present too, like that's got to be some very horrific injuries that would have to be visible from a distance over that long of a time.
Okay.
Yeah. Curious that they were not healed by magic as well.
Yeah, maybe it's like some kind of I don't know, things that he is proud of, because it happened in some
possibly
some things he did before or so. We will find out, I suppose.
So, what do you guys wish to do next then?
I think this Hezekiah.
Yeah, go to St. Ivy, I suppose.
Okay. So if you go to, let's see here,
James, are you on board with this? Or?
Yeah. Let's do that.
Okay. Let's see here. What would be a good one for that? Go. So, I'll put you guys around this. Whoopsies. Whoop! I was moving all over the place here. We go. All right. So, it is a few neighborhoods over to get to the seminary, St. Ivy, and you can see that this is it is a proper church, effectively kind of like a college to train priests. To navigate around here, you're probably going to want to do some proper and careful introduction. It's not if you're not wearing a priest's robe, then you'd probably stand out in here. But do you guys think you're going to talk your way in? Or are you going to try and sneak your way in? What are you thinking?
I think we should be honest and talk to the persons. And
I guess you can fight your way in.
No,
that's good.
Yeah. No, we should just say that we are concerned with the burning of church property, and that at least Adam was friends with Father Talcott, who unfortunately died, and so we came here to talk with Father Ezekiah, who was pointed out to us. Okay.
So why don't you give us who I think it's probably going to be a diplomacy check to get in here, but I'll let the other whoever is not taking the lead on it. You guys can choose to try and aid that roll.
Shall I go in? Shall I lead on that?
Yeah, you could. You are the most diplomatic of our bunch. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
So, and perhaps the way that you were trying to frame things there, Basil, that might be diplomacy, that might be society.
Yeah, I could assist with society, or I could do a role with society. I guess it's my strong suit. Society.
Yeah, it's not necessarily. This isn't a subsystem we're using for it. So extra successes is probably just a flat. What I want to know is to set set the initial reaction from Sally's diplomacy roll. So,
I just use society.
Yeah, either of those are fine. What about Dr. Earthsprung? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean it'd be using society as well, I think, and just making note that obviously he was the guy that the clinic was burnt down, to get a little bit of sympathy and try and get in that way.
Okay.
Might as well use my last hero point, I think.
Oh, you guys got another hero point at 2 o'clock too, so I just forgot to give it to you.
Yeah, I didn't do it.
Okay.
No, so...
Okay.
So,
well,
I go in, and I'm clearly flummoxed by this human religious stuff.
Well, allow me to, wait till you meet Father Hezekiah. Because what this just you were doing is setting the initial reaction from him. So I think you guys ask here, a little bit around. You were shown to where he is. For one thing, he is still alive. The other thing, he is still teaching. And you guys make your way through the halls. You can see there's young priests of, men, women, and otherwise making their way around here. It's predominantly human, but there are a fair amount of other ancestries in here as well. Wide variety. You think you spy a Leshy dressed up in a robe as well. But you make your way down to this one lecture hall, and you can picture it's not the kind of thing that sits thousands. It's the kind of lecture hall that sits probably like comfortably at most maybe 30 or 40 students. But on the chalkboard on the wall, there's all these very, very intricate and exotic symbols. No doubt some kind of magical or, extraplanar import to them. There's strange languages that are written, or letters from different alphabets that are with which none of you are familiar. And there is an old priest with a long sort of lecturer's robe, not as elaborate as those at Collingwood University, but he has sort of like a sash over his shoulders that marks him as a lecturer, as opposed to a priest or a student here. Or it wouldn't be a student; it would be, what do they call a seminarian? I think, is that what the priests are called when they're in seminary? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep. So he is leaning over. He is quite old. Let me see if I can find my favorite casting of cranky old guys in here. I'm pretty sure. I've loaded. Where is he here?
It's Walter Matthau.
Where is he? Well, I'll have to find the illustration after that. I don't want to waste our last couple of minutes me fucking around with this. So what he comes in, he doesn't look up, and all he says is, "Purcell, I told you, I have office hours later. I won't speak to you again about your assignment without an appointment at office hour." And he looks up. "You're not Purcell."
No. Sorry to interrupt your business.
Really?
Here for... Yep.
Everyone says they're sorry and then proceed to do what they want. Are you really sorry?
We are sorry for a lot of things, but less for interrupting you than for other things that are maybe necessary in the course of
Confessionals can be heard in the chapel. I do not indulge in such things myself.
Okay, so we want to know about a devil on the loose in the city, and we were told you were the person to speak to about this.
He looks over. "You think me responsible for unleashing a devil on the city?
No,
I don't see
totally...
constabulary's colors on you, young man.
Yeah, no, I don't think you are responsible, but you may be the person to help us getting rid of said devil.
What is this devil a concern of yours, then? Have you done something to anger it? Did you make a deal and wish to back out now?
No. He burned down one of your churches. He burned down the clinic of my friend.
The churches belong to all the heavenly hosts. They are most certainly not mine.
No, not yourself, but of your church.
Are you saying that you are not in the flock of the heavenly host, then?
Maybe I don't say that, but I would just
your nose
say
is
nothing.
twitching, so perhaps it gives an opportunity either Sally or Dr. Earthsprung if you want to interject anything.
Oh, we're watching with great amusement.
I'll just say, Father Rush suggested we speak to you.
Rush!
No. No.
Rush made the priesthood? That dullard?
He said
Indeed, you meet all sorts in the priesthood, it has to be said.
He said you were an expert in your field.
He could not seem to master even the simplest of divine mechanics.
Yeah. Actually, he said that to this day he's still terrified of your knowledge and mastery of the subject. That he
Well,
will
if he
never reach.
wasn't such a sniveling coward, perhaps he would have learned something. Though,
I see.
if he did recognize my understanding, perhaps he had something he took from my classes, apart from the D that he received for dullard.
Yeah. You see, I mean, this conversation maybe needs a little bit more speed to get to the point. So we know about a thing that was called St. Adelars. And I'm rather sure you know.
He stops
more...
and closes his case. He turns and walks over to you, and he makes a great effort at. And you realize he's taller than he looks. He's sort of hunched over when he's talking, but he's got himself upright now. He walks over and stands most assuredly in your personal space. Like, it's very uncomfortable how close he is, and he's looking right down at you. What did you say about St. Adelard's?
I think there's someone who was in the fire who is now responsible for the new fires.
He leans well down, kneeling to meet your level. You were saying there is something connecting what happened at Adelard's.
Yes.
And you suspect a devil.
Yes. A goat
There are
devil
many
or whatever.
fools who will cast around blame at devils and demons and bogans.
Yeah, it's we know the name, so it's a I don't know the
Rimarak?
Brimarak. Yeah.
His eyes snap at you like someone hearing their own name does, when their mom or someone else calls it out. He stands up, he says, "You would say such a name in these hallowed halls?" He looks down at you. We should discuss this in 2 weeks' time. So, I think that is... Yeah, there will be definitely a productive conversation to be had with him. But we'll have to wait for 2 weeks in order to have that conversation. So, for those listening at home, thank you so much for joining us for part 2 of the Fire and Brimstone mystery in our ongoing Spires of Paridar campaign. As is always the case, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns regarding the session, the campaign, or the game we're playing, please do not hesitate to leave a comment in the comment section down below, and I'll endeavor to reply in a timely fashion. In addition, there's a link down below to the Dungeon Musings Discord server where all of us are active, and you can find channels there dedicated to this game, this campaign. I can't remember. Maybe, probably. I don't know. There's this game for sure, and there are a bunch of other channels dedicated to most of the games we run on the channel, as well as a ton of other great communities. There's a Find a Group channel that's been seeing some great success lately and putting together some terrific groups. There's a regularly updated channel on conventions, so if you're looking for opportunities to play, there's those chances there. And there's also an amazing community that has built up over the past couple of years, so tons of great people to indulge in just idle conversation with, or just sharing pictures of your dog, as I am wont to do on a very frequent basis. In addition, there is a link down below to something called Heroes Save Villages. That is the charity fundraising campaign we run on the channel. It benefits the SOS Children's Villages International Charity, a really terrific organization active in over 130 countries, benefiting over 80,000 orphan and abandoned children, including ongoing relief efforts in the Ukraine and surrounding countries at the time of recording. There is also, I guess, first off, all money that goes through that link goes directly to SOS Children's Villages International. None of it goes to the channel or any other middleman. It just goes to benefit the kids who benefit from the services of SOS Children's Villages International. And as a small way of saying thank you, well, first off, for every $25 Canadian that you donate, you get one chance to win the grand prize or one of the other great prizes in our next charity raffle. We have some terrific prizes that we'll be awarding for the December raffle, and if you want to see what was given away in June, you can head on over to the Dungeon Musing Discord server's Charity Initiatives channel and see a full list of these, including a pretty awesome Pathfinder 2nd Edition prize. There is also a... as another way of saying thank you, we ask that donors, or invite donors at least, to help shape our next charity session. Our last charity session was played with Eden Studios' classic All Flesh Must Be Eaten zombie survival game, and the donors helped frame what kind of game that was going to be. Our next charity session will be at the end of November, and that one will be playing a channel favorite, Modifius Entertainment's Conan, Adventures in an Age Undreamed Of, and donors will help shape what kind of story that's going to be, what kind of player or characters are going to be in there, and lots of opportunities to vote on what to, the actual adventure is going to be like. The last thing I will say, I think that's the last thing. I'm all over the place with my outro. Last thing I will say is a huge thank you to our stalwart illuminators for playing today. So, Ingolf, James, and Darren, thank you so much for playing today, guys. The mystery deepens in Paridar. I'm sure it all means well for you. That nothing is going to turn, framed for murder, hunted by things underwater, selling your soul to a secret spy network. I'm sure that all of this will have happy endings to it. We will be back in the streets of Paridar in 2 weeks' time, and until then, we hope that we gave you a few hours to take your mind off of the troubles of our world and think about the troubles that our stalwart illuminators are uncovering in the shadows and under the spires of Paridar. Until we see you again, stay safe, stay healthy, and happy gaming.